Good morning and welcome to the 20-Minute Talk Show. I'm excited to introduce Mr. Mark Massey, President of Evergreen Property Management. And we have 20 minutes and the time starts now. Thank you for joining us in this interview. I would like to know more about your entrepreneurial journey and how you were inspired to start your business.
Well, I actually started this business when I was flat broke. I had been what you might call on the learning team, and I wanted to start my own business, but I didn't know what to do. And so the first thing I started thinking about was what am I good at? And I had been involved in managing some rental property earlier with partners of mine, and that we had since liquidated our ownership of those properties. And once I started thinking I could manage properties, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It just consumed me because I didn't need a lot of capital. I could do a lot of marketing by word of mouth. I knew people in the community. They knew me. I felt like there were a number of people that liked me and trusted me. And it took off a little slower than my wife would have liked to have seen happen, but within a year we had a good business going, and we've been in business for 29 years. By the way, I'd like to thank both you, Vi, and Nemo for having me here. I think what you're doing is really just a wonderful project, and so I'm glad to be a part of that.
Well, thank you I'm honored to have you here on the talk show. It's a great story about how you started and your inspiration. And so what are the 5 key elements to starting and running a successful business?
Above and beyond anything else, I think the essence of a truly successful business is integrity. It's not only being honest about what you say and do and delivering what you say you will, it's about also making all the cogs in the wheel fit together, to having your everyone that works there be on the same page and speak with the same voice. So integrity of an organization is the essence of your success. Next, I think you have to have a value proposition or value proposal, which identifies all the people that are stakeholders in your venture. For example, in mine, there's my clients who own property. There's my employees who work there, myself, and the tenants that live in the property. There needs to be a benefit for all of them for you to be successful. And you need to articulate that so that it's easily communicated and that sort of thing. The next thing I'd say is probably the people that work for you are really the essence of what makes your business work. It's all any business really is the people that work there. The other thing I think is that you need, I used to say income was the most important thing for any business. I've since modified that a little bit. But the point of that was that if you don't have income, you don't have, it doesn't matter if you've got great managers, excellent accountants, whatever it is, if you don't have income, you're not in business. And so we focused a lot of time on finding out what our clients wanted and providing that. And so that's another, I don't know if that's the third thing or the, but, or fourth, but so income is, but that actually leads to another thought, though, is the momentum that you get from having income coming into an organization. Businesses are either growing, stagnant, or they're dying. If you have a growing business, there's opportunity for people to grow and learn and move up in the organization. Whereas if a business is stagnant, people don't see the opportunity to move up. It becomes the same old thing. And eventually they get bored and either want to leave or perhaps don't do as good a job. And obviously if a business is dying, you lose everything. So I've changed that a little bit because even though Amazon did very well for a number or for a long time just by growing their income and growing their income and growing their income, eventually you need a net income. And so it's not just a net income, it's a continuously growing net income. Just like the income needs, or the business needs to grow, the net income needs to grow. Because if the net income doesn't grow, then you don't have the ability to pay more money, expand your operations, things like that.
Yeah, those are great. I like those examples and the short stories you've shared. So I'm wondering, how do you market yourself and your business, and how do you recruit clients to get involved in your business?
Those are good questions. One, I think, is you need a way to communicate the value that you provide them, or your value proposition, not so much in a written, they used to have, I guess they still do, the vision, mission statements and things like that. This is more of what's in it for them. So I was fortunate in my business that I was able to start out by just word of mouth. Today I would have gotten my Outlook contacts and gone through and called everybody I knew and said, here's what I'm doing and I'm really excited, and tell them what I'm doing. Now our website, I can't think of any kind of business that a website isn't important for. And how you feed that, well, there's all kinds of opinions on search engine optimization, but it doesn't do any good if you don't have a website that communicates. On our website, there's one section of success stories. We've done things like taken over apartment buildings and within a matter of months increased the rents enough and reduced vacancies enough that we have increased the revenues 27% in the succeeding 12 months after we spent 4 months kind of turning some of the tenants out that weren't good and getting rents closer to market, things like that. So we have success stories. There's a number of them. A lot of things that we do, we didn't know how to do 20 years ago. And so we have some of the things that set us apart from other companies. Also, we have on the first page of our website, we have some testimonials, I guess you'd call it. It's entitled "What People Say About Us" or something like that. And these aren't things that we called up a client and said, "Hey, listen, can you write a testimonial?" I think you see websites where there's this very articulate paragraph or 2 paragraphs of how great some company is. Everything on our website was taken from letters, thank you cards. One came with a bouquet of flowers. And we don't necessarily quote the whole thing. There was one email that I received that ended with, "You guys are awesome." And that's all I put on there for his quote. But it gives people the feeling that there are people that have really used you and really spontaneously have told you how good you are. And so that's important for the marketing. Website is big for about anything. Developing a referral base. Probably more than half of our business comes from referrals. And I'm not sure, I should probably have a better number for you, but I would guess that about 25% of our business comes from our website and just people going online and finding our website and then calling us. We try to get back to people as quickly as possible if there isn't someone available immediately. And that increases our odds for doing it. And then that gives us an opportunity to tell our story, to tell them why we're different. A lot of times people their first question is, "How much do you charge?" And that doesn't tell the whole story. I think the person that owned the apartment building where we increased the revenues 27% would say he probably doesn't even know what I charge him now. I'm sure he does. but that becomes a secondary importance. So.
Yeah, so it sounds like you have a strong client base, and all those stories show that you have you've done well. And so, how is the real estate market in Denver, and what will that look like in 5 years? Do you recommend anybody investing in real estate?
Well, of course. And I think part of the problem is that too often people look at it in the short term. Too often people look at, boy, I'm just barely breaking even cash flow-wise. Just some easy figures. We did a study years ago in Fort Collins and this will tell you how old it was because we used a phone book to randomly select the addresses that we used. We went back and traced those through county records, and year after year, decade after decade, well, not every year, but decade after decade, we pretty much saw about a 5.75% increase in values of real estate in Fort Collins. Now, people think that a lot of times that's not sustainable because if inflation's only at 2 or 3% or maybe 4%, but the thing is what people don't realize is that land goes up faster than anything. The one exception to our study was the Old Town area in Fort Collins, and those properties went up about 10.75%. You can't build any more Old Town. And so the land there is very valuable and has gone up very rapidly. But to get back to your question, if, just for easy figures, if you put 20% down on a property and your property goes up 5%, that alone is a 25% return on your investment for that year. And people forget when they're looking at the 20% that they put down, and maybe they're getting a 3 or 4 or 5% return on their cash, and the lower numbers are generally on single units or things like that. It's harder to get the larger nets on them because they're not designed for efficiency. You know, somebody with a 3,000 square foot home, the rents per square foot aren't going to be as high as the rents per square foot on an apartment complex. A 3,000 square foot fourplex or something like that is going to be a much more efficient model, and the maintenance will be less in comparison to the rents. But actually the cost per square foot may not change that much. It's just that you've got more square footage and lower rents per square foot on a single family home than you would have on a multi-unit. So I just wanted to clear that up. It's still important to have cash flow because
Okay.
because you don't have cash flow. It goes back to the most important thing for any business is income, and it needs to be a continuously increasing revenue stream that also generates an increasing net revenue stream.
Yeah, something I learned from you today is I need to invest in real estate that has high cash flow. Yeah, I'll look at that from now on.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and to get back to your question about the Denver market, I think in the long term it will be an excellent place to, but any real estate market is going to have its ups and downs, partly because jobs come and go, partly because builders go crazy when the market's hot, and then we get overbuilt, and then rents come down and prices come down. But then we get more jobs, and then everything starts going back up, and then builders start building again, and that sort of thing. So I think it's really important to look at the long term. The area where most people get in trouble with real estate is the money, which is one of the things that cause failure. So I don't generally recognize or recommend that people be highly leveraged into real estate. It can work well for a while in a market that's red hot, but what goes up comes down, and if you can not be more than 70% leveraged, I think you're safer on your investments.
Okay. That's very wise words. I like that. I'll keep that in mind when I'm investing in real estate in the future. So I'm wondering, I'm sure you've made a lot of mistakes over the years, and so what have you learned from those mistakes, and do you want to share some of those
And here
mistakes?
I thought we were going to be good friends.
That's right.
Everybody makes mistakes, I suppose. And in fact, I remember reading an article one time that said the difference between good management and bad management may be that the good manager makes 75% of the right decisions, and the bad manager maybe makes 60 or 40 or 50 or something like that. I think the important thing is to learn from your mistakes. Money is one of the big reasons businesses fail. Balloon payments. Somebody has a balloon payments and they get shut out of the capital markets because they aren't lending. Inadequate marketing or not knowing how to market. Management is an interesting part of your equation too, but I don't necessarily think that anybody necessarily has to have an MBA. It would help, but it's just there's good managers come from all kinds of areas, all walks of life. One of the most successful men I know has a degree in sociology and a minor in music. Not what you would expect for a successful businessman. And so I think having a good model and being able to be flexible with it and learn that sometimes you need to go more vertical with your chart of accounts or chart of organizational
We have
chart.
30 seconds left. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So we have 30 seconds left. And I would like to know, can you share your favorite quote? Maybe a sentence? 20 seconds left.
20 seconds left. Well, I think that it's actually integrity is the essence of everything successful. And I think that applies to your business, it applies to your marriage, it applies to your friendships, it applies to everything.
Great quote. Thank you. And we're done.
My pleasure.
Thank you for
Thank you so much.
joining us. I learned a lot from you.